Now, before we move on with the ceremony, we here at the Radio Academy wanted to take a moment to recognise our guest of honour this evening, Tim Blackmore. Now, Tim has been an exceptional industry leader for over 60 years, has inspired many in this room and has influenced and changed radio as we all know and love it. Now, to recognise Tim's achievements and why we want to take a moment to recognise and celebrate, please welcome the former director of BBC Radio, former chair of the Radio Academy and personal friend of Tim's, Helen Bowden. Hello, babe.
So, it's no exaggeration to say that without Tim Blackmore, who's sitting up in the other royal box up there with his family, without Tim, none of us would be here enjoying this 40th award ceremony to mark the very best and brightest in UK audio. That's all of you. We honour Tim tonight, not just because he was a founding member of the Radio Academy, though he was, nor because he worked with Alan Zafer to create the first ever Sony Radio Awards, though he did. It's because he did that rare and precious thing and kept the awards going through thick and thin. The good times under Tim's stewardship were memorable, like the electrifying moment when Grace Jones, in full voice, entered the awards hall from the back, wearing only a pair of knickers, a lot of black feathers, and boots that made her 7 feet tall. The bad times were more prosaic, struggling to get enough sponsorship, keeping the guests sober until their moment on stage, and usually failing, and above all, sorting out the internecine warfare within the radio industry. I know this will shock many of you, but this business is founded on intense creative and commercial competition. It's full of big characters who know they are right. It loves its feuds and its fighting. For 13 years as chair of the Sony Awards, Tim successfully managed all that ferocious passion with tact, determination, and wit. I sat on his committee as controller of Radio 4, and I was in awe of his diplomatic skill. Never believe anyone who tells you diplomacy is a soft pass, especially if they're Dominic Raab. Like every brilliant diplomat, Tim had a steely focus on getting the outcome he wanted, a deep psychological understanding of how to persuade big egos to compromise, and credibility, that vital ingredient which makes people trust you. Tim's credibility is built on decades of creative and business excellence, on his sure-footed navigation of industry politics, on his consistency, and above all, his integrity. With Tim, what you see is what you get. And he's generous. He could have spent the past 60 years focusing exclusively on his programs and his business. Instead, he did the careful work of building up networks and events where the whole industry, all of us, could debate, celebrate, and understand our strengths. His long-term business partner, Simon Cole, once told me, Tim does have enemies. You could get them inside a small telephone box. In Shakespeare's Julius Caesar, Cassius says of Caesar, he doth bestride the narrow world like a colossus. In our world of audio and radio, Tim Blackmore is truly a colossus. From the bottom of our hearts, let us stand to thank and celebrate him.
Thank you. Thank you very much indeed. Can I also say to you, it's absolutely great to be back, and not just because being back means that I was able to hear those very generous words from Helen, but also it's great to be back because it's been a very long time. I checked before I came out tonight, and the last time that I was in this theatre was, believe it or not, March the 27th, 1994. No, sorry, 1974. And I know that because I checked my diary, and I was here, moving about this stage in the back, I was recording a concert for Radio 1. It was a concert by one of my all-time favourite singer-songwriters, the great Cat Stevens. And I was very chuffed this morning to see online that Cat has been selected to fill the legend spot at this year's Glastonbury Festival. So there's something for us all to look forward to. So well done, Steve. So more than 50 years at the top, a phenomenal achievement. And looking back over a time like that and applying it to my own career, thinking of some of the things that are in the programme and some of the things that Helen talked about, I have been very lucky. It may have been a case that I've often been at the right place at the right time, and it's worked in my favour. But it's been quite a run of lovely things. There at the start of Radio 1, headhunted for the start of Capital Radio. I applied for the job of First Director of the Academy and got it, and all the other things that Helen referred to. It's been a fabulous, fabulous 50, 60 years wherever you started. But let's just for a moment, before I sit down, look to the future. I am convinced that as long as people are going to be born with ears on each side of their head, that there are going to be glorious opportunities for people like us to express our creativity, to entertain people, to educate people, and certainly to inform people. So thank you for making me your Guest of Honour, Radio Academy, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to look back over 60 years and realise just how fortunate I've been. Thank you very, very much indeed.
A massive thank you to Tim. What a lovely moment.